Day can be a tough holiday for many people. It can either highlight the fact that once again you don't have that special someone, or it can bring attention to a relationship that is struggling. Here to help us navigate affairs of the heart, please welcome the author of Break Up, Don't Break Down, Dr. Diavon Young. And if you have a relationship challenge you're dealing with, give us a call, 713-284-1055, 713-284-1055, and Dr. Young may be able to give you some love advice. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
All right, so dovetailing off of the earlier segment there about cheating, are there some basic principles that you look at as a therapist as to whether a relationship can build and get stronger from there, or it may be time to call it quits?
There's a lot of information that's present. What happens is we ignore the obvious. There's a old thing where if you want to hide something, where do you put it? Right in someone's face. And that's where we tend to hide things from ourselves. The things that are right in our face, we make it we go through an extra amount of effort to often overlook that.
Yeah, but how do we know? Is this a relationship that we should build upon? Because, you know, affairs oftentimes are not about sex, really. It's about emotional, psychological issues. And so there's, I guess if you're going to rebuild that relationship, you have to agree to trust, you have to agree to forgive, maybe not forget. So when do you walk away, when do you stay?
Well, I developed a test that will help with that, but being really honest, affairs do happen for several reasons. One, the relationship should have never began to start with. Two. Okay. The second thing is that you find yourself in a situation where you look more forward to leaving home than you do coming home.
You're not feeling nurtured in that relationship.
And you're not being validated or authenticated. And when people feel invisible, that's when they want to show themselves to someone that will notice their presence.
Yeah, in a case like that, you could work on rebuilding that relationship. All right, let's talk about the love test. You have 5 areas that you need to consider if you want to get enhance or avoid losing the love of your life. And a lot of that has to do with that being equally yoked. We may start out equally yoked or not, and then over time, things change and we need to put them back on course. So let's start with the boundary test.
The boundary test is really simple. When you look at boundaries, the thing that you want to find is, are you betraying the confidentiality of your relationship? Are you getting angry and going and telling your in-laws and your friends about what's going on between you and your mate? Are you being given information by someone that's really trusting you and they're thinking, you know, you're my significant other, be that a boyfriend, a fiance, a girlfriend, or a husband or a wife, and all of a sudden what you shared in confidence is now all over the neighborhood and in the circle of family and
why
friends.
is it that we won't share with our partner, but we'll share with our nail girl and our hairstylist? What's up with that?
Well,
some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You tell them everything.
There's this need to communicate. The problem is you're communicating with the wrong person. You need to communicate with the person that you have the issue with.
Yeah, that would be a red flag that something's wrong.
Right.
All right, when your significant other is hurting, how do you treat them?
That's another thing. Most of us tend to avoid our significant others when they're hurting. When we avoid people, when we decide that, well, I don't want to be bothered with your problem, and men really have a bad case of this. A woman, we will see that she's looking dejected, she's acting depressed, not communicating, and we start becoming best friends with the remote control or the golf clubs, which does exactly opposite, because people get in relationships so that they can be affirmed and have someone to share these long, difficult moments with.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about earlier, if you're not that nurturing partner, they may go off and find that nurturing partner. All right. 3, are you carrying around unresolved anger issues or bad feelings about something your mate did to you in the present or the past? And I got to tell you, when I go home to visit my parents, and I've said this over and over again, they're 92 and 96 years old, my mom will bring up stuff from 1942 and act like you thought it just happened an hour before you got to the house. And so you got to let go of those things.
There's a lot with that. If you start finding yourself doing this, licking the back of your hand, seeing if your significant other is breathing, that's a sign that you're probably handling some stress that you haven't let go of. And if you live in the past, how can you be in the present? And if you're not in the present, what did you just do to the future?
Yeah.
The best thing for you to do is, if these issues are present, bring them up, talk about them, and to both parties, let the other person finish talking. Don't finish their sentences. Truly listen, because a lot of this stuff, you cannot do a thing about it. However, the fact that it's off your chest and it's no longer being suppressed or repressed it doesn't have to get projected at the wrong time under the wrong circumstances.
All right, we have a caller. Sarah, good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
What's your question for Dr. Young?
I don't really know where to start, but I wanted to say that, we've been married for a number of years. I've noticed lately the stupidity is just kicking in, like the immaturity, where I've noticed, like, there's no respect at night. I don't get to sleep. It's that constant making stupid noises. You ask them to be quiet. They come in, the drinking's picking up from, after work all the way till bedtime, and I'm kind of checking out. I mean, I'm not been a happy camper for a number of years, but I guess I've just been kind of hanging in, waiting until kids get older, that kind of thing.
And Sarah, let me ask you this. Have you told him that?
We've had numerous discussions over this stuff. I've told him, sometimes it's pee or the bottle because this isn't working. We've gotten into one ugly dissertation where I didn't even sleep in the room for about 2 weeks.
Dr. Young, it sounds like he's acting out.
Let
Just like
me
a
ask you
child
a
He
would
goes
do,
good for
acting
about
out.
a week and then he goes right back to it.
How long have you been in this relationship?
22 years,
And how old are you, may I ask? Just give me a ballpark.
almost 50.
Okay, people change every 5 years. The person that any of us is today is not the person we were 3 to 5 years ago. So the man that you married has long been gone. What's happening with him could be a number of things, but you mentioned alcohol. So he has picked up a surrogate relationship with a distilled spirit as opposed to the Holy Spirit, whatever. But when someone starts having an inebriant get involved, their presentations are, it's called the GABA system, where there's this chemical in the brain that inhibits behavior. Well, when you have enough alcohol, all of a sudden these things that you typically wouldn't say or do start surfacing. So the first thing is you need to deal with the alcohol problem and stop sweeping that under the rug.
And also, what's causing that problem,
then that's the other thing is that when people come to my office, the first thing that I do is dig through their trash and figure out, okay, let's not look at the presentation, let's look at the source. And when we get to the source, then we can dismantle the platform from which it was built.
Yeah, because in my unprofessional opinion, I see someone who's acting out, which, kids will act out because they don't know how to communicate. And so sometimes you act out because you don't know how to really communicate. And this is a case where I think therapy would be really good. We have David on the line. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
And what's your question for Dr. Young?
My question is, I'm kind of concerned in between the mother of my kids and I. She just up and left due to, I guess, living circumstances, and she was saying that she wasn't comfortable and the past 5 years has been a lie. And I'm just trying to figure out if we should try to, mend things back together or go our separate ways.
Have you ever had therapy, just out of curiosity?
No.
Okay, a lot of people avoid therapy, and I got to tell you, professional therapy can help you get to the nitty-gritty of things. This is what you do.
Well, I can tell you, I have been very pleased in my practice. I have about a 90% success rate. And the reason for that is because I do the things that they don't want to do at home, and that's talk about the things they don't want to discuss.
Or don't know how to do at home.
And then here's the other side. People don't understand how someone else communicates. And there are basically 16 personality types with several different trait variances that can manifest themselves. So the first thing to get to your question is people say what they mean and they mean what they say, and actions speak louder than words. So if this woman has already taken the step towards saying, I might want to get out of here, I'm not really feeling this, there's a reason for it, and I applaud you for wanting to save it. However, the first thing is we need to really determine, why does she want to go, and what is it that is going on there or that is not going on there that's causing her to have these feelings.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about success. Sometimes the success is you agree to part as friends.
Yeah.
You agree to part. And so it can work out. You just need to know what you're working with before it does.
One last little comment.
Okay.
All relationships end, either in life or death. People are in your life for a season, for a reason, and for a purpose. And when that season is over, when that reason is discovered and that purpose is finished, sometimes it's time to allow transformation to take place and let them go, because you cannot unstrike a match.
Good point. All right. If you would like more information on Dr. Young and his book, Break Up, Don't Break Down, just log on to our website at greatdayhouston.com. I think there's some people over here doing high fives and an amen over here. All right. I think we just had church for a minute there. All right. Looking to add a little spice to your Valentine's date night? How both of you can enjoy a love affair with food by heating things up in the kitchen next.